Welcome to the Investor Mel Woman of Action Show. Today's guest is Melissa Johnson, and she's going to be speaking about her 1,000 transactions. She does both flipping and wholesaling as well. Now, Melissa is a mother of 5, yes, and she's going to be discussing as well the mindset that it took in order to achieve her goals. She loves spending time with her kids and art as well. Let's get started. Hi, Melissa. Welcome to the Woman of Action Show. Great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm excited.
So, Melissa, please introduce yourself. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
So about me, I've been real estate investing for the last 18 years. I've done about, I think close to like 1,000 transactions. I kind of lost count at this point, but it's a lot.
Oh,
I have 5 kids, 4 girls and a little boy. Everyone says that, but I always have the disclaimer, like I have twins, so I got a 2-for-1 on that deal. Primarily I do rehabbing, wholesaling, and then I do like building up a passive income portfolio of notes and rental properties. So expertise. I just started a coaching business last year during the whole lockdown and everything. So that's been a lot of fun, just getting that up off the ground and helping people. It's been really fulfilling and fun, exciting.
So what do you do mostly now? Do you still do all the above, like wholesaling and the rehab, and what does that look like now?
It looks a little chaotic right now, I'm not going to lie. I was kind of thinking about this earlier, and I am still flipping. I'm still actively flipping. But with launching the other business, that's kind of pulled my focus away from that for a little bit. But now I'm reshifting back into that now, and actually brought somebody new onto the team to kind of help out with some just acquisitions and things like that. So I'm really in this building phase of my life right now. And it's, I went through a divorce last year. So that was very, that was a thing. It's never easy starting over again. And so I've really been in this process of just rebuilding and, really figuring out who I am, what I want, what I enjoy doing, what I don't so much enjoy doing. And so it's been a little bumpy, but it's also been it's been a great learning experience. I've learned so much about myself and just, having the opportunity to, I'm trying to see it as an opportunity starting over, right? It's like, now I can build this however I want it to be. And I know how to do it because I've done it already. And so I am still flipping, not as much. I'm more focused on the coaching, but I know the value of investing in real estate. So I definitely want to keep that going. But it's been nice because I don't feel like I have to do so much anymore with that. I don't have, a huge team and an office and all the stuff that I had before. I've really scaled it back.
The hard part from what I hear from many people, including myself, is finding those right team members and the right culture for your business. And now it's interesting that you decided to kind of take this step back, and it's really, the reality sometimes is that we do have different things that happen in our lives, and we reflect like, okay, this was one way that I was going, but then you decide to go a different direction as we as we grow older and as things happen in life, and good for you for realizing that and being able to make the adjustment. Now, how do you do it? I'm sure our listeners are wondering, mother of 5, busy mom, entrepreneur, doing all these things. How are you doing it? How are you balancing work and family and kids?
Some days it's harder than others. And I get asked that question a lot because people are always like, oh my God, 5 kids. So I should also say that 3 of them are adult children, pretty much. I mean, they still need me. I still take care of them. But, my oldest daughter's married. My twins are in college. And then I have 2 at home. So It's not quite as bad, but I was raising them the past 18 years, obviously, through this journey. So really, the way I do it is you just do it. There's no like secret formula to it. You have to do it. You can't not take care of your kids, right? And they're always my priority. Like they've always been my priority. And so I really built my business around that. So putting, the key people in place, having the systems and processes in place so that I can manage that. Like the business is systematized and squared away, so that I can take my kids to school every day. I pick them up every day. I am at every single thing that they have.
Well, I find it interesting because sometimes I'll get the comment like, well, oh, you're an entrepreneur, plus you have kids. How do you do it? It's like, well, it's way easier to do it because I'm an entrepreneur, because I have the flexibility as well. And I don't know if you find the same. Like, yes, of course, running a business, there's a lot of responsibilities and a lot of moving parts, but I also have the flexibility that if I feel behind in work, I can get up at 6 o'clock when the kids are still sleeping and get caught up on emails, and then exactly being able to bring the kids to school or pick them up from school or bring them to appointments. And it provides that lifestyle and that flexibility that unless people are in it, they don't realize how great it is, because it really does bring that kind of flexibility.
Exactly. And having help too, like even if it's, spouse help or hired help, I learned quickly, when the little ones were younger, I need a nanny. Like I can't, you just need help when they're still young before they are in school full time and everything. And so I actually, people were like, how can you afford to do that? I said, I can't afford not to, honestly,
Right.
and when you think about the trade-off of paying for the help. And so that was one thing that I did learn. It took a while to learn that lesson, but once I learned it, I totally mastered it. I love delegating and hiring things out and just realizing, like, I don't want to cut my grass. I don't want to clean my house. I would rather spend time with my kids or working on something that's, going to help my business than scrubbing the toilet, so it's worth the, $100 a week or whatever it is for the person to come in and clean for me. It's just realizing that it's okay to trade that all, take those things off your plate, I guess, and
Yeah.
delegate them out so that you can be performing where you are best.
Now, what's your favorite? There's so many different strategies with real estate. Which one's your favorite? There's wholesaling, there's flipping, there's buy and hold, there's the burst strategy. So which one do you prefer, and why?
Years ago, I would have said flipping because I love transforming things.
Now, were you hands-on? Like, were you the one doing all the renovations yourself?
I never swung a hammer. I mean, I did for fun, but but I do enjoy, I love like putting together a scope of work. I love looking at a property and figuring out all of its potential. I'm also an artist, so I think that's why it feeds my creativity. It's fulfilling for me to be able to transform a property. But I have to say, as I've gotten older and wiser and maybe a little bit more tired, I really like wholesaling. It's just something that's so, with the right people in place. I mean, I feel like I really don't have to do anything except just kind of keep an eye on things, but it's just such an easy, there's so much less stress associated with that. You're not having to deal with contractors and,
Now I'll move on to the final three questions that I have for you, for the woman of action. So questions of action. What advice, Melissa, would you give to your younger self?
Advice I would give to my younger self, I think, would be um, to really work on your mindset. We don't think about that when you're in your 20s. You're just so, I feel like when you're younger, you're so much more in the moment. And so you're not thinking about all the setbacks that are going to come eventually in life. You're just like, everything's fine. I don't know. It feels different. And I wish that I would have known more about mindset and working on your mindset, developing that at a younger age instead of, being older and coming into all this personal development.
And I usually move on to the next question right away, but I love this. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into this because it's such an important piece of the puzzle. When people think real estate, they often think number crunching and finding the deals and all that. And that's great. And yes, that's important. And that's the fun part. But the mindset is so, so important. And without the right mindset, you'll either go in a direction you don't want to go to or get discouraged, or naysayers will come along and that's going to drag you down. So what are the steps that you have done or didn't do to kind of get that mindset? Because I know that you've decided to make some positive shifts in your life, your life and do what you know you really want to do and create that extra freedom for yourself. So how did you go upon resetting that mindset?
Well, I think it starts with just not even knowing that that was a thing. I always, I didn't really put any thought into that because again, you're young and you're not thinking about that kind of stuff. But then, things start happening. And I think for me, it started, I think I became sort of aware of that. I had my first daughter when I was 16. I was in high school and it was a very difficult thing to go through.
Right.
And I love her and she's so awesome. But it really changed who I was.
Right.
And it really, I think that was a huge part of building my character because, and I didn't know this at the time, right? Because you're in it and you're not really thinking about it. And all I could think of was how, you know, how difficult it was and like being sad and being, feeling like a freak and, all these like things, just like a weirdo, like who has a kid in high school, but I couldn't not have her. That was my choice.
Right.
I realized later that really toughened me up, I think. And it really made me see like, I'm a pretty tough cookie, I think, like when it comes down to it, when things get really difficult, I think we all crumble a little sometimes, and I still do, with just like that first initial, like, oh my God, you just get so overwhelmed with everything. But then I realized that I can rally, like I have this strength within me that I'll persevere, I'll do whatever it takes to survive basically. And so then, beyond that, it's like, well, how do I not only survive, but how do I thrive? How do I grow? How do I learn from these experiences that I've been going through? And so I think that really is what started the shift in the mindset, is just realizing that like things happen and I need to figure out how I'm going to deal with them in a positive way and not go to the dark place or being, down and out, sad and negative and things like that. Which, I mean, again, there's this whole thing, right, where you should feel your feelings and that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing,
Yes.
but you can't stay in that place. It's not good for your mind, I think, to stay in those places. And so figuring out how do I get myself out of this, replacing habits, is a big one. Like, I don't know if you read Atomic Habits. It's a great book, like how to develop new habits, how to break old habits and develop new, healthier, better patterns of behavior. And so once I kind of started digging into that, I was kind of doing that before I read the book, but then when I read the book, it was just a validation, like, okay, I'm doing the right things, like really shifting that mindset and realizing, being very self-aware, like I'm going to a place, I'm getting very negative or I'm feeling very overwhelmed or whatever that feeling is that doesn't feel good, and replacing that with something that makes me feel better. So for me, it's, going and sitting in my hot tub, or taking a bath, or I'm a water person.
These are all great tips, and I love it. It's true. It is a mindset, and we all go through difficult times, and we've all had great days and bad days. But it's also recognizing them, and like you said, not to stay in that mindset of negativity or self-doubt or hesitation, and realizing that, hey, we do have so many grateful things, or things to be grateful for, and making that mindset shift. And I know for myself, and I do that often even with my three kids, is that if ever we're having, one of us having a bad day, or there's a little bit of bickering or whatever the situation is just to, let's just stop for a second here and let's name three things we're grateful for, from each other. And the little things we're bickering about or the negativity just quickly goes away, because we truly do have so many things to be grateful for. And sometimes you just need to stop that way of going and readjust, and once you do, you just feel so much better. But it is a conscious effort, and it's really important to do that. And I find surrounding yourself with people as well that that are positive, or that are like you, or that are going to encourage you as opposed to slow you down, or the naysayers. I don't know, have you come across naysayers as well throughout your journey?
Not so much, but I think it's because I keep my circle small and I'm very conscious of who I surround myself with. So I think, I think you're spot on. Like it's a lot about who we are with. It really does affect your mindset quite a bit. And understanding that, I came to this realization too recently, like mindset is a practice. It's not something I don't feel like you ever completely master it. I think it's a work in progress always. It's just something you have to work at, all the time. You have to realize when these things are happening and how are you going to react to it? Because, as well as I do in real estate, you're going to get knocked down 1,000 times. And if you don't have the right mindset to be able to get back up, you're never going to make it in this business. And that's one of my pillars that I coach on is encouragement. I always start with mindset, because if your mind isn't right, then none of the rest of the stuff matters. You can shallowly run a successful business, but it's not really going to be fulfilling and truly successful, I don't think, if your mindset isn't right, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, if you don't know your why, if you can't handle, getting back up when you fall down.
Great. Identifying your why is going to keep you driven throughout your journey for sure. That's great. Thanks for all that, Melissa. What's the number one tip you would give someone who wants to get started in real estate?
I like to tell people, educate yourself and then take action. And I think having, a coach or a mentor or somebody is helpful too. Anybody that can, that you can provide value to, that will, want to sit down and talk to you or whatever, but you got to come to the table with something, when you're looking for a mentor. You want to make sure that you have educated yourself. And that's why I say probably the education piece is the biggest piece. You don't have to know everything, but I think knowing in a general sense and then figuring out what do I want to focus on here? And then finding someone that can help you on that journey is very helpful. I've always had coaches and mentors since we got started, and I still have a coach.
And that's awesome. And I agree. And that's the thing. Sometimes people don't realize that investing in a coach long term is gonna, even if you're paying for the coach, is gonna save you thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, just in mistakes alone. Not to mention the actual action piece, right? To integrate it and to make it happen. So I agree with you 100%. Having a good coach is awesome. So that's great. And then last question for today: if someone wants to contact you, Melissa, what's the best way to contact you?
Well, I just launched my new website that I built myself, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Nice.
It's themelissajohnson.com. So if you go there, there's places to kind of check out what I'm doing. All my social links are on the first page at the bottom. So you can kind of see where I'm at, and then email melissa@themelissajohnson.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for being on the Women of Action show. It's been great speaking with you.
Thank you so much.
Melissa, thank you so much for being on the show. It was great chatting with you once again. I love how you're a mother of 5 and yet you still went after your dreams. Keep up the great work, Melissa. I can't wait to keep following your journey. And if you'd like to check out another Women of Action show, make sure to check out this next video. I'm Investor Mel, and I'll see you there.